Hi, everybody, and welcome to part 5 of Culture Speak, the art of talking about work. And today I'm talking about the subject of my most recent book, which is a shameless plug for Detox Your Culture. I'm going to be talking about the easily avoidable toxic cultures, and they are easily avoidable. Now, remember, as we've been going through this series, the two observable elements of culture day to day are emotional intelligence, you bringing your best self to work or feeling like you can bring your best self to work, and engagement. Engagement is the organization providing the conditions for you to do your best work, but also you engaging in it as well and kind of getting better at what you do, doing a good job, being a good teammate, all of those kinds of things. Now, when it comes to toxic cultures, unfortunately, very little is salvageable unless early intervention takes place. So in the previous part, so in part 4, I talked about combatant cultures. Now, usually there's a sign. In a combatant culture, you can usually pinpoint an individual or something that's happening, or there's unethical behavior has been uncovered. Somebody somewhere knows something. One of the things I often say when being interviewed is that toxic culture is never a surprise. It's never a surprise. Somebody always knew something about someone or something and chose not to do anything about it. And of course, you're only ever as good as the behavior that you choose to walk past or the practices that you choose to walk past. And so having done that, if we stay in that combatant zone too long with poor behavior and high engagement, eventually it will become toxic. And at that point, your engagement score is less than 20%. People are actively talking about bullies. But there's 3 levels. So the first level is consistently combatant. So like I said in the last parts, so in part 4, is every team needs a little bit every now and again, just as a reminder, but it is a small dose of it, and then you go back to vibrant. But it turns toxic when you stay there. So high stress, high anxiety, and consistently combatant, people are taking sick leave. That's how bad it is. You got a lot of people off sick with stress. Now, of course, different people feel different levels of stress at different times. And so if an individual is off with stress, often it's not a sign that it's toxic. But if you're losing 2, 3, maybe more people, and also you're hearing about the fact that people are treating people really badly in meetings, or else there's passive aggressive communication, then there's a sign you've got a consistently combatant culture. Unconscious bias, that lives in a consistently combatant culture because you're not aware of things that are fairly obvious to everybody else. There's a lack of humility. People take credit for other people's ideas in a consistently combatant culture. Persistent profanities, lots of finger pointing, lots of microaggressions. And so you see these are like little spot fires. They pop up all around. Doesn't matter what you do. They pop up all over the place. And those things really then start to infect the culture, make it worse. And you have these frequent emotional outbursts. So I always say that's kind of ground zero, level 0 is consistently combatant. But at this stage, you can fix your toxic culture. You really can, because what you can do is cut the head off the snake. So usually it's 1, 2, 3 individuals. You can either performance manage them if it's completely out of character. If it's who they are and you've tried and failed in the past, then you stick them on a pathway out of the business, and you have to deal with them. You have to deal with them. Because the organization's job is to protect the culture for the majority, not the minority. Now, even if it's a senior leader, you've got to do something about it. The safety of people is paramount. There's psychological and physical safety, and it consistently combating its psychological safety. But by level 1, which is corrosive, it's starting to become physically unsafe as well, because we've got bullying, harassment. We've got people shouting in each other's faces, often with aggressive profanities. We have got favoritism. We've got clear unethical behavior that's being excused for whatever reason. We've got persistent self-interest. So people doing things to suit themselves and nobody else, and often being quite open about it. Sometimes that happens in stagnant cultures, but you never really found out about it. Whereas often unethical culture when the culture's toxic, people are quite brazen about it. And they don't mind talking about, yeah, it is you've got to do what you've got to do. You also have malicious gossip here. And I don't mean people talking behind people's backs saying it's awful, it's dreadful, like people actively trying to destroy people. And the other thing that you find when you get to this level 1 corrosive, there's lots of blame and lots of excuses, lots of finger pointing. Also, and I did a podcast about this, it might have been at the start of this year, about toxic culture and UFOs. People are like, everyone can see it, but leaders are like, yeah, it's nothing to see here. That crashed in a field? No, it didn't. It was a weather balloon. But it's quite obviously a spaceship. Trust me, it was a weather balloon. There's nothing to see here. And so it's always a sign when everybody can see it, but this one person is saying there's nothing to see here. Again, that things aren't great. So that's level 1 corrosive. But, there's genuine harm to people here. I don't want to be flippant about this. And the people that are responsible for it need to be dealt with, because by the time you get to level 2, it's harmful to people, it's harmful to reputations, it's harmful to shareholders, to stakeholders, everyone. And some of the highest profile collapses and business failures in history were all a result of toxic culture. People walked past behavior. People walked past unethical practices. Everybody knew what was going on. Bernie Madoff and his pyramid scheme. It brought untold misery to millions because it started a process. The financial collapse, toxic cultures, people behaving unethically. If you've ever watched or read The Big Short, that's where I get all my information from. Harmful, you've got physical assault, you've got sexual assault, you've got emotional cruelty. And all of these things are absolutely terrible. Emotional cruelty, just as bad, awful. We're ghosting people, we're gaslighting people. We're threatening them. They've got ultimatums. There's widespread fraud that people are involved in, lies, cover-ups, self-preservation. All of these things are harmful. When your organization is in this spot, it's a minimum of 18 months to 2 years in my experience. I've only worked with one that's been this bad. 2 years. And you had to take a broom to the entire leadership team because it all happened on their watch. The post office in the UK is a great example of an organization where just a hugely toxic culture, massively unethical behavior. Postmasters committed suicide. Postmasters went to jail because of bad technology decisions. And some of those people still work there. And so you're never going to be able to turn around that culture knowing that the people that presided over it are still in positions of power, however contrite they may be. Now, listen, I don't want anybody to lose their job. I really don't. I don't want anyone to lose their livelihood. But if you presided over that kind of culture that's brought untold misery to dozens and dozens of people, well, your card is marked. And the thing is, you marked it. Okay. Well, we had to do that episode. It's never good to do part 5, all about toxic cultures. I hope you're not there. You can find out what kind of culture you have at any time. Go to www.5culturesquiz.com. You'll get a report within the hour and it'll give you the actions you need to take your culture to vibrant. But I really do hope you're not toxic. I was an employee myself for 30 years. I only ever experienced a toxic culture once, and I did my best to change it. I really did. I brought out all of my tools. And unfortunately, the organization weren't interested in dealing with the people that generated the toxicity. So I left. Even the CEO left because she couldn't deal with it. But hopefully you're not there. Anyway. The next part is part 6, which is all about vibrant cultures, all of the good stuff. We've got the depressing one out the way. We're on the home stretch. We've only got 2 parts left. And next time we're going to talk about vibrant cultures, what it means, how to create one and how to evolve it as well.